everyone. You're so welcome to our morning. We're excited to share it with everyone, our breakfast morning. We're excited to share our pregnancy tummy trains us, right? And share our journey with everyone. We're having this morning again for breakfast, our wheat bix, our light coffee, our water after the coffee because it's very light. And we're not gonna have it tomorrow morning, but we wake up again with that craving. So we're gonna do that. The milk is in the titties, it's going strong and fine. And it's going stronger and stronger. They say stronger and stronger. It's going Aisha and AWOKH. And the journey is going amazing. The pregnancy journey. The tummy is growing. The tummy is big. One day the tummy is very high the next day behind all of the backnesses. And we sometimes need to relax our brain, and we sometimes need to relax our muscles to not cause tension so much because we are doing a lot of live videos and the tension are good because the tension also strengthens the immune system sometimes, and that's why pregnant women get mood swings and gets aggressive sometimes and gets harsh sometimes because the tension works on the muscles, and the tension are also good for the brain function that the muscle pumps, the blood vessels pumps, and it's giving enough time to get response to the pressures that might relate to pregnancy sometimes. And we make our body used to those tensions. Another thing that we love doing is we love to watch our films in the calmness of it during the day. What do we do during the day is we watch our calm films. We watch a lot of Chinese films. Yes, a lot of Chinese got interesting films on YouTube, and they shift a lot of those films through, and it's calm films and it's relaxing films. And we watch that. We've watched the bloggers before, but the bloggers is like an Aisha business. It makes you angry sometimes. But you have to argue about a lot of things that goes wrong in the world, and that it sometimes affect you personally because you know the people sometimes personally. That sometimes maybe they directed at you. So all of those blogginnesses is sometimes nice to watch, but other times it gives a lot of tension and anger and aggression because it's sometimes directed to a lot of things, directed to women abuse, yes. And because some of these bloggers work for organizations that they have planned this, and they've planned it against certain women. And Ribea always wanted to know why Ribea Elise, why would you wanted to direct it at Ribea Elise? Why would you want it to be in Ribea's green journey? So when you go through all of my old photos on purpose serving, then you would learn that some of these bloggers followed those photos, and when they wear their clothes, they wear sometimes exactly stuff that I had on, right? Or stuff that everyone always say the whole world is wearing it. But when it affects your life and when women views in the world is looking like that, then the way they are in the films to you and the way YouTube serves the films through to your page, the way Ribea directs it with the Ribea reprimands and the social media pages. And that's just where we are at. You always want to know why would the people want to directly talk to you about it. Why would they directly talk to Ribea Lees? Why did they plan to talk to Ribea Lees about it? And that's why generation is currently on in it is a whole lot of women that are being targeted in this world, and some people have planned it, some of the organizations have registered, and it's registered businesses, and behind those registered businesses all these kidnappings and women abduction and all of these things happen. That can sometimes when we have babies and when we do our programs and when we have had the advantage to have now social media, then we appreciate social media for what it is. Social media, amazing communication for international people to get to know one another. It's an amazing journey that life has given every one of us. It's an amazing education opportunity that we have all got. The one thing that we can all learn out of it is that we all have to educate ourselves to not be the one against the other the whole time. To not, when we do our videos, we do not do it to discuss Ribea Elise in it. And we don't send videos around the world to teach the whole world about Ribea's social media page. And then everyone sends hashtag messages, and then everyone knows that's page Ribea, that's page about. And then you don't educate the world to be against someone else, you know? All of those things we need to teach one another because our children grow up and our children requires their parents to not put them in danger, you know, to not be putting pressure on them as young children. So we learn those lessons in life very, 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 very harshly, but it's firm and it's what we all educate on in our seasons. I'm just gonna take a 1 minute break quickly, just a moment. Yeah, so we educate very fine and very on our social media experiences. It's good when we have experiences on social media that we share it with one another. Of course, we all learn from it. We don't share it to bash Ribea out of the room. We don't share it to send men to target Ribea. We don't share information like that to send men to put Ribea in danger. We share our opinion on what women are finding and what's challenging and what women are being challenged with on social media. We share our opinions in ways that are gonna have someone else be fine. That are gonna have guys listen into what is Ribea saying because maybe these messages goes to men in the world, and men in the world at work are being aggressive about women, and they sometimes want to go and abuse and target women. And because of women that are in these years being targeted so much via social media, and we don't say victimized because we don't become the victim of that. We say they target women, and when they aim at you, they aim to harm you, right? In the armies, we learn guys go into war today because of women arguments, because of social media pages. Not only that, because parliamentary leaders don't want to manage processes in a way that is fine for the countries, and then guys go and sign up to the armies, and they don't realize. And many parents said that they received a letter that the father is sometimes just not there anymore, and that's just a norm. It has become a norm for humanity. And because of that, we need countries to manage these social media pages who's working with the parliamentary houses. And that's why I said the social media pages need to work with parliamentary houses because our children are involved. We are involved in all of these discussions. And I always say we only don't only when we are pregnant, we are reminded to not only think about us. We are reminded and we have children. We are reminded and we know children is older. You don't grow out of that. That Ribea says that I'm not doing this for myself, but I'm speaking up for my children who's growing up. And I'm doing this so that everyone knows that the world can sometimes be abused only because the world are sometimes receiving information about other people. There are sometimes a whole lot of certain aggressions and wars and argument informations. in some of the processes in the world has been minutes like that for years. And when we are pregnant, we are reminded to look at how the world is looking, because we give babies to another human being. And it's now not that you think of yourself and that you are now old and that you don't think of what is happening around you and now you are all aggressive in the world. No, it's to remind us sometimes of how the world is really looking and how guys really sign up for the army, not to really be bumped up because the processes can be minutes well, because it is an employment right for them to be employed in the army and to work for protective services for the world. But the world does not have to abuse them. The world does not have to go and create an environment around them. It is all of those baby processes that we get right, so that when our children don't grow up with all of these unnecessary processes that are all chaotic. I say on my Instagram fashion page, the colors are so much in the world and it's sometimes so over the place in the world. And the world is exactly like that because weather is exactly like that. In every outfit I wear on my social media page is exactly how the weather is today, right? And it's exactly how we are required to respond to our environment around us. But sometimes some of these processes can be fine because it sometimes are really people that really stirs the world with aggression to want to send the young boys into war. And that's also not fine. The young boys goes into war because the prisoner goes into prison and the prisoner feels the world is unfair. And then the government sends the young boys into war. And then we assess, no, but you're meaning the process. Don't go and plan to send people's babies into war. Don't go and plan to now answer to the prison and now you send the other young guys in the community to war about it. And the whole other team of people have a nice time in the community. While two type of men in our generation and two type of women in our generation are being abused, or a type of woman and a type of men in our generation are being abused, and now you want to send the whole world into war about it. It's not fine. I always say it's not fine. And it's not easy for mommies to discuss these matters that happens in the world, in the countries. And some mummies have the advantage to share it on social media. Because mummies that are pregnant and that gets to a room of amazing pregnant mummies where they are in discussions about what is challenging for them. They don't often talk about what is really happening in the world. They often try to find a way around what is happening. And they are often not allowed to even say what happens in their households and how they sometimes can be challenged in their households. And only because of that, now don't worry about that. As president talking, and that is such his life. And only because of that, we sometimes have got the advantage of social media to say, with my baby, let's make it fine. Let's make the environment fine for everyone. Let's make sure that everyone is fine. And everyone saw Ribea's tummy already how many months ago, right? And everyone was like, oh, and everyone was like, you posting with that big tummy. And then no one realized that maybe there's something happening in that tummy. But it's not that. It's that we share the photos with how we are fine with. And Ribea would normally be a person that when I stand in a photo, I would pull in my tummy, right? And I would do all of thatnesses. And on my photos recently, I have not done that. And I have not explained myself to anyone because you can either decide to have a fit tummy and a fit tummy is fine and you don't have to tell people that your tummy is fit or that you are pregnant about it. The world is requiring us to be fine how we are and what our choices that we make. And that's why we allow ourselves to appear fine and to be fine. I always say be fine. People say be great. I say be fine with the circumstances in this world. And I don't like people to argue back with me, to stir aggression. When I say something, I always recommend listeners to listen to what does Mommy Ribea Elise mean with what she's writing. not to argue with her because we have learned that our social media pages are very explanative, right? It explains a whole lot of stuff of what is happening in the world. And when we explain, we are not going to be Mitchell's Plain that is now next to the whole District 6 environment. And when we are able to meet Mitchell's Plain, I have learned that in Mitchell's Plain, the people are also sitting in houses, and there's also lots of things happening outside of their houses. Remember, I was staying in Kels River, and someone took me to Mitchell's Plain. And I always drove on Cape Town Road, and I always saw Mitchell's Plain. And I always read the board that says this way goes. And when I come from Paul community, Mama Universe always says, Ribea, there's a board that says Mitchell's Plain, and that board goes to Coast River, and that road goes to Mitchell's. And when we're on that R3 road, on that 3 road, on 300, right? On the R300 road from Paul community on the N1. And we turn off to Curls River, and then Mama Universe says, and that's Mitchell's Plain. And one day someone took me in there because I always looked at how would Mitchell's Plain look. And I was working in Curls River, and I was a bartender, and all the people came from different communities to buy in my bar. And I don't know the guys, and sometimes it's a whole lot of team of guys, and other times it's a different team of type of guys. And they came from all over Cape Town, right? And I served them all of those years. And I've got to learn that they are different communities. And I always then I say, where are you from? And then the one would say, I'm from Mitchell's Plain. And then Ribea would say, but where's Mitchell's Plain? That sounds so nice. It's so stunning. And one night we went to a club, and we were in a different club in Belleville somewhere. And in the club, I can still remember that night very well. We can't remember a lot of things. And in this dance club was all of these guys. And then we went to Mitchell's Plain, and we were in a club in Mitchell's Plain. It was a very nice pub. And we were in this pub in Mitchell's Plain. And while we were sitting in this pub, I dreamed about that pub after that for so much times. And then Dorian took me one time to a house in Mitchell's Plain. And while we were in the house, the community was quiet, looking quiet. And all these years, people had complaints about Mitchell's Plain. And I got to the house, and the community was quiet, and they were so busy with fishing. They were buying a fish or something about a fish, and they were still busy with this fish. And so is the Bible South guys also, right? They always came into Ribea, Elise, and then Ribea would dance with them. And then Ribea don't know none of them. And now Brother Zach is actually staying in Bible South, you know? And all these years, people say, Ribea, Bible South is a very gangster place, and you must be scared of Bible South. And in 2020, I said a good time in Bible South, and I walked very far distances from where Sis Natalie's house was to the church. And you know, I had the experience to now on my own terms get to the Bible South as Bible South, and not what I've learned all these years of how people came to tell me of what is happening in Bible South. Yeah, and now we have a grandchild. God has blessed us with a grandchild in Bible South. And yeah, one of his brothers asked children, yes, we are excited. The baby looks at the baby, says to everyone, wow. You know, the babies sometimes are born like that, and other children sometimes do it because they do it. And Melvin sends me a photo, and Zanzak always makes, and Zanzak says, wow. No, they two are brothers, and they are like twins, right? Melvin and Zanzak. And they always grew up trying to be there for the one the other. And when they learn the one is challenged, then they would sometimes communicate and educate one another, right? Out of the challengenesses of it. And the baby grown now, the baby is now born, and they send the photo of the baby that's born, and the baby says, wow, Ribea. Then I'm like, yeah, such is Mama Universe. Very interesting. And Mama Universe takes us on all these amazing journeys, and Mama Universe do all of these amazingnesses, you know. And then we can sometimes explain ourselves in situations, and other people sometimes try to explain us. The bloggers try to explain who Ribea Elise is to the world, and they try to send messages around the world about Ribea Elise. And my universe says, wow, this baby is then born without all of those people trying to explain it. You know, and it's those amazingnesses. That is really interesting. China, yes, has written a lot of films. They write films a lot, amazing films, yes. Sometimes they Google into our countries, and they have all of these information sharing in the world, and it's amazing. And the world is like that all these years, and everyone knows the process. And it was a baby, and they nurtured the baby, and they've been on the Ribea Elise journey, and they nurtured the Ribea Elise journey, and they Googled in on my lifestyle decisions and choices, and they wrote films about it. and they've learned and taught me a lot about I really didn't get to know as a person when I look at the film, and then they would explain how Ribea Elise used to be and how interesting it used to be. So yeah, they are also writing a lot of columns about that journey that Melvin and his girlfriend had, and it was an amazing, interesting journey, but it's an interesting education, and they took the film through to me, and I really appreciate them a lot. We are allowed to say it because we say it because our lifestyle stories are sometimes very interesting. We at least always say families don't do lifestyle stories until when you learn that people are following you and you don't know what's happening around you and you can sense in your veins that someone is following you from somewhere, then try to not be paranoia. Yes, someone wants to say paranoia. Try not to be paranoia when it looks like someone is following you and you can sense them. Because I was a bartender, I can sense a lot of environments. And when I have to make a drink and I have to recognize, my brain have to respond and I have to remember what someone orders and what someone requested. And the video camera is now not so nice. And then I always educate myself how to respond with the environment of what is happening around me. And in that, I have learned a lot. And that's what I can educate everyone. Our video looks odd. We're gonna do another video again later. Let's just take a breaky, and I'm gonna put the video on pause while we just check the video lighting out, and we're gonna continue with the video again just now. But if people explain you, allow yourself to explain you in the season. If we just fix the video about it.